Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here at SDH. We are going to go over the week that was and get you ready for the week that will be as it comes to everything going on in the Premier League. Very, very busy week across the board, and we will get you set up for everything that has gone on news-wise and score-wise. Going back over the last 7 days, it was a busy Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and your 10 o'clock starts on Saturday. Newcastle put 5 on Brentford. After a red card, it had Brentford trimmed to 10, Newcastle with the 5-1 win. Manchester City keeps on rolling. No surprise over Southampton by the score of 4-0. Chelsea over Wolves by the score of 3-0 as they got ready for their international play. News from Wolves, by the way, after the sacking of Bruno Lage, they're looking for a replacement. They are still looking for a replacement. Julian Lopetegui has reluctantly, the words from TalkSport, turned the job down. So their first choice for manager at Wolves to replace Bruno Lage is saying no after being dismissed from his previous gig, and so now Wolves are still looking for a manager. All three of those wins were for clubs on the minus side of the ledger at a minus 145, minus 769, and Chelsea at a minus 196. Also on the board for your activity on Saturday, Bournemouth over Leicester by the score of 2-1. They were down in the match, came back to win, and an interested party, Bill Foley, the prospective manager for the prospective new owner for Bournemouth, got to watch the match from a box at the Vitality and saw the team come from behind for the win. Looks like the price tag is going to be in the neighborhood of £150 million. And Bill Foley, the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, might be the new manager, the new full-time owner for Bournemouth after they got the win. Spurs over Brighton by the score of 1-0 at a plus 185, a slight road dog as they were heading to the Amex. Your Sunday action, it was West Ham over Fulham by the score of 3-1, a desperately needed full points for West Ham in that situation at a minus 154. Jared Bowen, after the match, exudes the confidence that the team currently has.
It started really, really well, and we didn't come out of the blocks at all when they get the goal. But then, we dug in, got the penalty, which got us back into the game. And then I thought we played some nice stuff, and at times it was a bit scrappy and, not a great game for us. But we got 3 points, 3 goals. So it was important off the Wolves game, the European game as well. And I spoke about it last week. There's a lot of games coming up. There's a lot of confidence to be gained from winning games. Since the international break now, we've won all 3 games. So confidence is high. It's about momentum, like I said, of all the games coming up.
Crystal Palace knocked off Leeds by the score of 2-1 as a plus 106 at Selhurst Park. Arsenal and Liverpool will get into this one at the back end of Prem and Proper this week, but a back-and-forth game, a lot of goals scored. Arsenal won as a slight home favorite at a plus 154 by the score of 3-2. Manchester United knocked off Everton by the score of 2-1 as a plus 108 at Goodison Park, and it was a piece of history. Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 700th goal in all competitions in that match as a part of the Manchester United win. Here's Erik ten Hag and Frank Lampard, courtesy of both of those teams, after the match on the impact of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Even when you are the best of the world, you need it. You need the goals. And I worked with many goal scorers, especially them. They needed the goals in every season to have that feeling and to have that the confirmation of the intuition. And once they have some goals, then they come in a flow. And then games go easier, and that will happen with him as well.
He keeps scoring goals as he's done. The numbers that he racked up that just sort of become normal, abnormal numbers that become normal year after year. Looking after himself in the right way. I don't know him particularly well, but you can do nothing but admire those numbers. They're amazing. And when he was on 6-9-9, I wanted him to score in the Europa League the other night because you could feel what might come at the weekend. And then he comes on because Martial's got a problem. Sometimes those things happen in football. But you have to, in the cold light of day, I'll give him huge credit for that. It's amazing.
Monday Night Football, and if you listen to the game on TalkSport, it seemingly was one of the most disliked 90 minutes of Premier League football in quite some time. Neither team really showing a whole lot when it came to wanting to get full points on the board. It ended up Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa with a 1-1 draw coming into the match. Here's what Roy Keane, courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports, had to say on Monday Night Football about Nottingham Forest.
Roy, last week we were here watching Forest beaten 4-0 by Leicester, and there was talk then that might be the end of the road for Steve Cooper. Instead, he gets a new contract. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm sure he'll be delighted. I'm sure he's got the contract on the back, of course, what he done last year, getting him promoted. But I still think the contract, he'll still be under huge pressure. I still think if they lose the next 2 or 3 games, I think that contract will make no difference. I think he'll be sacked. So he's under pressure like lots of other managers, but maybe the new contract might bring the club together a little bit if they can get a result tonight, try and get some momentum into the season. But their performances so far haven't really been good enough. Obviously, you just looked at the goals against there. Need to improve, need to tighten up in the back, certainly. But it's been difficult. Bring lots of players, that many players to your club, it's difficult.
Yeah, 23 in all, and he makes another 5 changes tonight. We'll come to that in just a second. But I was wondering if you would have sympathy for a manager who, perhaps against the odds, has got a team promoted and then found that next challenge quite difficult.
Yeah, well, there was always going to be a lot of players come into the club. I don't think anyone would imagine there would have been 22, 23. That's crazy, really. Of course, they had a lot of players last year on loan. They were going to have to invest. And when you invest in bringing that many players in, you need kind of a decent start. And it's just, I think what you want from a promoted team, obviously, is about survival if you can. Stay in the Premier League the first year. You want a bit of a team spirit, team fight. And it's very hard to create that when you bring so many players to a club. So, yeah, I've got great sympathy for him, of course. But if we're led to believe that he's a brilliant coach, then we need to see more of that. Certainly in terms of tightening up at the back. But if they keep conceding the goals they're doing, then they'll obviously be relegated by Christmas.
And then, not to be outdone, after the match, here's his thoughts on Aston Villa, once again courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports.
From Villa's point of view, they've got no bottle, that team, that Villa team, you know, for all their so-called attacking players. They didn't do enough to get a result and they'll be kicking themselves. But overall, I thought it was a really poor game. But credit to Forest, they've got something out of the game and maybe something to build on. But real lack of quality for both teams.
You think that Forest will be encouraged by that?
Well, they'll have to be because they've been on such a poor run. And sometimes, before every game, sometimes when you're near the bottom, you think it's a must-win game. No, it's sometimes just about getting something out of the game, something to hang on to. They conceded the 1, but there was showed a bit more spirit than what they have done previously. So, you know, and when you're down there, you're looking for any sort of encouragement. And that will probably kind of give them a little bit of a lift. But in terms of quality, it was poor. But again, when you're near the bottom, you've got to show something. And Forest did tonight. But from Villa's point of view, I couldn't believe how bad their attacking players were. From Villa's point of view.
So the running gag is still in place with Nottingham Forest. There may be more incoming players and transfers than points this season for Steve Cooper, as he signed a new contract all the way through 2025 with the ownership earlier this week with Nottingham Forest. But we will see what is going on with Nottingham Forest this year and Aston Villa. So let's take a look at the standings. After the match week is put to bed, most of the teams have 9 matches in, some with other competitions that have to be made up later on in the year after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. But here we go. Arsenal, 8 wins and a loss, 9 matches, 24 points. Manchester City, they have 2 draws, 7 wins. They've got 23. They've scored 33 goals this year. Spurs, they are at 20 points. 9 matches in, they are at 6-2-1. Chelsea is 4th at 16 points. They've won 3 in a row. Manchester United had their 3-game win streak snapped with a loss. They rebounded with the win against Everton. They're at 15 points in 5th. That would be your Europa League position. In 6th, it is Newcastle at 14 points, ahead on goal difference over Brighton, who have a match yet to play, so they have a match in hand. Chelsea and Manchester United also have only played 8 matches this year. Bournemouth, 3-3-3 across the board. When they lose big. When they win, they win closely. 9 matches, 8 goals scored, 20 allowed, and they're unbeaten in their last 5. So good work by Bournemouth at 12 points. They're in 8th place. Fulham is at 11 points. They've lost 3 of 4. 10 points, it's a bit of a logjam. Liverpool with a match in hand and goal difference of +8. They have 2-4-2. They are in 10th. Brentford's in 11th. Everton is in 12th. Brentford have 8 more goals scored than Everton. That's why they are in 11th. West Ham, with their win, they've now won 2 in a row in the Premier League. But you heard from Jared Bowen earlier. Very, very confident side now with 10 points after 9 matches at 3-1-5. Leeds, alternating losses and draws in their last 5. They're 14th at 9 points, ahead of Crystal Palace, who is 15th. Villa, who is in 16th after having drawn 3 of 4. They're unbeaten in 4, however. Southampton has lost 4 in a row. They are in trouble. They have given up 17 goals in 9 matches, 7 points, just outside the relegation zone, which currently has Wolves, who've lost 3 in a row at 6 points. Forest, who broke their 4-game losing streak with the draw on Monday night at 1-2-6. They have 5 points. And Leicester, they have 4 points on the year. They've scored 15. They've given up 24 in 9 matches so far this season. News out of Liverpool. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But news from our friends at the FA. They are looking at the to-do that was had after the 5th goal was scored in the Arsenal-Liverpool match. Some news from our friends at Sky Sports News about the FA and what they're looking at after that bit of a disagreement that those two teams had.
Breaking news that we're actually hearing now. Sky Sports News has been told that the Football Association is reviewing the referee's report and has already started gathering information from Arsenal defender Gabriel and Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson following their angry confrontation at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday. You might remember that the altercation happened just after Arsenal were awarded their decisive penalty in the 3-2 win. Henderson and Gabriel both spoken to by the referee, Michael Oliver, after the match, who asked for their observations of the incident. And that is in keeping with the FA and PGMOL protocols. It's the first stage of any potential disciplinary process. The FA remained tight-lipped on the matter, repeated their original statement from Sunday night, which stated they are in discussions with all the match officials and will review the details of the incident. It remains to be seen whether the governing body will open a full-scale investigation into what happened. Initial inquiries are likely to take several days. In cases such as this, it's normal for the FA to seek eyewitness accounts from all the players and any club support staff who are involved in the fracas or within earshot of what was said. It's also very likely the FA will employ a lip reader to work alongside them as officials review all of the television footage available. Jurgen Klopp felt Gabriel Jesus had dived when challenged by Thiago, and that led to Bukayo Saka scoring from the spot. That was with 14 minutes to go, but also to a mass confrontation involving numerous players and that vocal standoff between Henderson and Gabriel.
Speaking of which, Jurgen Klopp, as he was getting ready for a European competition this week, was asked to address the penalty call, and it's safe to say, once again, courtesy of our friends at Liverpool their own selves, Klopp had a lot to say.
But I think when on Sky Sport, the ref watch, when Mr. Dermot twice says the decision was wrong by the best English referee, Michael Oliver, one penalty was no penalty, and because before the season we had a big meeting with the refs and they said no soft penalties anymore. So it was a penalty we got. So then we saw the season already which kind of situations we had for handball. And there were penalties with exactly the same situation, but not in this game. But Mr. Dermot, not to forget, thought, yes, this is a penalty. The first goal, how I heard now, of Arsenal was pretty likely offside. We just cannot find out because the camera was not there or the angle, whatever. I don't know exactly the reason. But when I saw the picture, I thought it's obvious that Saka came back from the offside position. So now we talk about this game, and about 100%. We conceded silly goals, especially the second one in the first half. But between the first and second goal, we played again against the team in form in the league. A really good game. But we're 2-1 down. Second half, we get out, score our second goal, and open game. We're not as good as in the first half, but open game. And then there happens a penalty, which was not a penalty. And from that moment on, we had to chase the game, and Arsenal could counter-attack, and they had obviously then better situations. That's all true. but it's difficult to judge that game, really. So that we don't play our absolute best football, I saw that. But again, the team, we played away against the team in form in the league, first in the table. Great team, top, really good players, all good. But we lost it in the way we lost it. And now it's difficult to judge. So what do we miss in this specific game? Just the right ref decisions would have been helpful, to be 100% honest. And then we can judge the game new. But then if we win that game for the outside world, our problems are completely sorted. We know it's not like that. Now we lost the game and 3 players. That's obviously exactly the opposite of what should have happened. But the only thing we can do is to keep fighting, and that's what we'll do. And everybody who wanted to see it could see it. We fought against Arsenal really hard. And that's what we'll do tomorrow night, because we have to do it, because Rangers, not only after what Giovanni van Bronckhorst said in the press conference or in the interviews, they want to put things right, and they want to get points in the Champions League group, and they tried it with I'm not sure how to say it, but maybe a rather defensive approach, 5 in the back, and now they want to attack and want to go for it in a great atmosphere. Never played here. I'm really excited to experience that. And that's a tough game in a different competition, and that's what we have to do.
Heading into your next matches, once again, we have European competition this week, so one of those teams that has to balance all of it is Spurs. Antonio Conte was asked what it's like having to rotate, knowing you'll rotate, knowing that you have to balance the Premier League competition and European competition before the World Cup shows up in a little over a month's time.
Yeah, but it's not simple, and I think it's a difficult situation for all the teams, all the clubs, and to play every three days is a big effort. You have to try to manage the situation in the best possible way, but at the same time, you know that you have to make rotation, but at the same time, you know that you need to get good results. Otherwise, there are a lot of criticism for the result. Finger crossed, and to try to have all the players available, to try to make rotation with great balance, because it's important in every game to have a good balance, and also when you make a lot of rotation, you have not to lose your identity. I think this is the most important thing for every team, to keep the club at a good level.
So that sets up our early juice boxes, and it is going to be a very, very busy time over the next 7 days. You've got action on the weekend, so over the next, say, week and a half. So over the next 10 days, going to be very, very busy for teams in the Premier League, especially the ones that might have had a match to make up. And so that's what's going to be part and parcel to what's going on the midweek on your next Tuesday, next Wednesday, and next Thursday. They're going to squeeze in around in the midweek next week. So before we come back, let's go over what happens on the weekend. And it is going to be Friday Night Football on the 14th. Brentford and Brighton. Brighton is a road favorite at a plus 141. Your draw's a plus 241, and Brentford is a plus 204. On your Saturday the 15th, you have 4 matches. Leicester, home favorite against Crystal Palace at a plus 129. Your draw's a plus 250. Crystal Palace a plus 216. Fulham is a home favorite at Craven Cottage at 10 o'clock against Bournemouth as a minus 116. Wolves are a home favorite at the Molineux up against Nottingham Forest at a minus 145. Your 12:30 game on Saturday, Tottenham and Everton Spurs are a favorite at a minus 200. On Sunday, 5 matches before the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday midweek comes back around for match week 9/10 or 10/11. Villa and Chelsea at 9 o'clock. Once again, I believe that they will have flipped over to the time change on that Sunday. So Chelsea, road favorite at Villa at a minus 125. Arsenal, big road favorite at Elland Road going up against Leeds at a minus 172. Manchester United hosting Newcastle, even money plus 100 is a favorite there. West Ham is a road favorite heading to Southampton, taking on Southampton at a plus 146. Southampton's a plus 190. Your draw's a plus 250. Liverpool and Manchester City. Manchester City at Liverpool is a minus 125. your draw and your Liverpool number basically within the margin of error. Draws a plus 321. Liverpool is a plus 313. And that's another round of Prem and Proper because it's going to come back at us fast and furious. We'll go through all of the news and notes and everything else left that needs to be said before match week 10-11. Wolves are still looking for a manager. Nottingham Forest still looking for a sponsor. And Steve Cooper signed to a contract extension through 2025. Injuries for Liverpool before we go. Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to be out for the next 2 weeks, as is Joel Matip. Luis Diaz will not need surgery, but he will be out for longer. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for hanging out with us for another round of Prem and Proper. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy the games on your favorite rights holder of choice. That's your update on the Premier League.